Tanya, and look what I got for the miracle of the Eucharist.
He made a promise to my father, so he's got to be very good to me.
Hold on to this, precious.
You know, it's funny the things that, the commitments you make. Bob was, he was making a week what I paid for a pair of shoes when he asked for my hand in marriage. My father was a little discouraging.
So I was not a big money maker. What do you want?
And he said, I promise you that I will take care of her the rest of my life, and she will never want for anything. And that's the truth. He has taken care of me, and I have never wanted for anything. But when I wanted to go into ministry, 3 years before the Lord finally whacked the two of us on the head, he kept saying, that's easy for you. You didn't make the promise. I did. And I have to take care of you. But finally, the Lord let him understand that he was taking care of us. So here we are.
Ephesians 6:11-12. Write that down. Ephesians 6:11-12. Put on the armor of God.
This is important.
That you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For our wrestling is not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities and powers, against the world rulers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness on high. And that is the battle that we are fighting. That is the battle that we have been fighting down through the centuries. It doesn't end. It will not end until the fat lady sings.
You remember that with Kate Smith? You know, it's so difficult, and one thing, you know, you got to watch out. Don't tell the Lord what you're going to do and not going to do. That's my bad habit. So you tell him what you're not going to do, and he says that's what you're going to do. So I said, our ministry is not counseling. You know, which I keep my big mouth shut. But when people come up to us and they talk about an alcoholic husband or maybe a son or daughter who are on drugs, or they don't know where they are.
Come down just a little bit.
And I say, can you separate what is happening from your child, from your loved one? Because that's not your loved one who is being abusive. He doesn't want to be. He is a victim. It is the devil and his fallen angels. And Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen said that the devil's greatest accomplishment would be for you to laugh at him.
The greatest accomplishment in Satan in the 20th century is for people not to believe that he exists.
Make him a joke.
That would be his greatest accomplishment.
And haven't we had seen plenty of film? What's that guy, Warren Beatty? Was he the one? I don't know. He was a happy ghoul or something. You know, it's a joke. He's not.
Who's this woman here?
You know, remember that? Was it Dracula or something? Was it Warren Beatty did a Dracula?
Oh, George Hamilton.
Oh, George Hamilton. I can't tell the difference with these pretty boys. But make a joke.
Love at first bite. That's what it was. Love at first bite.
Oh, love at first bite. This is serious stuff, people. Horoscopes are serious stuff.
We make the demonic creatures into friendly characters, and all of a sudden it takes away any fear that we have. We lose our edge. And of course everybody says, you know, you're paranoid, but we're not paranoid. This is all very well planned. If we take away all fear, we walk willingly, we take down our guard. There is no guard to put up, because what are we guarding against? It's just a little Dracula in chocolate cereal that we have. Chocula, I think they call it. It's a cereal that's got Dracula on it. And I mean, Dracula is one of our friends. Frankenstein, when they did the monsters, Frankenstein's one of your friends. All these weird people.
They're not your friends. You know, we were on a pilgrimage, and we had a driver, and he was an Italian driver. There's nothing against him being Italian, but he happened to be Italian. And I had a bad feeling about him. You ever have a bad feeling about somebody?
Yeah, but not because he was Italian.
No. Just, you know, and I was having this, Mother says I always have this committee meeting in my head, you know. Emma, is
Should
it
I,
me,
shouldn't
is
I,
it you,
should I,
is it him, you know?
shouldn't I?
And Bob always says, when you
Oh,
get
by the way,
these...
excuse me.
What?
We were supposed to, we were required
Yeah.
to tell you that Mother Angelica
Oh,
sends
yeah.
her love. She knows we're here
And
this weekend. She's
kisses.
happy that we're here. She sends her love to all the people in Salt Lake City. Praise Jesus.
So we're going to bring you back to her. We're going to bring you back to her. Wait till I tell her. You know, she and the nuns are all on their knees. They didn't know what we were going to find here in Salt Lake. She said, you're going to Salt Lake City?
Salt Lake City.
I said, yeah, pray for us. Oh, yeah, you have our commitment. We're praying. Wow, wait till she finds out. Wait till she finds out. Well,
The
anyway,
powerful church of Salt Lake City, Utah. What a
I'm so
contradiction
excited.
in terms.
Do you know what Carmen said? I was thanking him, you know. I said, gee, thank you so much. I said, thank you for what you've done. He said, you mean for introducing you to all these converts? And I said, yes, for all these powerful soldiers that are here. You are so powerful. Anyway, so we're on this bus, and I say to Bob,
Come over here. Come.
okay, we're on this bus. And I say to Bob, you know,
Okay.
I have a bad feeling about this driver.
Something bothers me about this
Something
driver.
bothers me, and I don't know. Well,
I said, well, his name is Luigi. That'd bother anybody.
he says, well, you know, maybe because he's very macho, you know. I said, no, something bothers me. So we get to La Salette.
Went to the shrine of Our Lady of La Salette, way on top of the mountain, way on top of the Alps.
way above the tree line.
As we were trying to find it, because it's like this, and you see a sign that says La Salette that way, and you just keep going up. And our grandson looked way on top, and there was a little, like this big, a little bus. And he says, that's the same kind of bus as we're in. We said, Rob, that's impossible. It was true. We went up and up and up past the tree line. There were no more trees. We were almost in the cloud line. You could see the clouds right here all around us. This is where La Salette is, way, way up on top of the mountain.
So anyway, we get up there. There was a wonderful, wonderful Hispanic couple from California, and she and I were the only ones. I would say something, and she would just look at me and go like this. She knew that there was something wrong with this man. You know, Latins have a gut, you know. They don't have much of a brain. I'm a Latin. That's what's gut. We're all gut, you know.
No brains.
We just get this feeling, don't you? You know? It's a
Nothing
feeling.
in the brain department.
I have very little up here, but boy, that gut, that stomach. And she kept going like this to me. So we get off, and she had a heart condition. And to go and get the water from Our Lady of La Salette, you had to go up the steep, steep, steep hill. And I knew she couldn't make it. So I said, well, I'll bring down water for you too. So I went there, went up, and I brought her a little cup, you know, of water. And she said, would you bless me? I said, well, let me call Father over, you know, to bless her. And after she was blessed, I didn't dare ask Father to bless the driver. But I said to the driver, figuring, you know, Petty,
Just come down a little bit.
you're being weird, so, you know, love your enemy. I hand him the cup. And he goes, no. I thought, okay, I was right. But I tell that to Bob. Bob says there's many reasons this is Irish, you know. There's many reasons he might not want to drink from the cup. And then, toward the end of the pilgrimage, I see something dangling from the mirror. And guess what it was? A little red figure with a long tail and ears. I lie to you not. And that's when I said to Bob, so no. You see, sometimes the Lord, your guardian angel, is trying to tell you something. As the head of a pilgrimage, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility for your brother and sister who's next to you in church. If something is said that is not proper, if something is done, if they do something unknowingly, with love, you are required to tell them you know, I don't believe that that's right. I don't believe you want to do that. I don't think you've got your information straight, and in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it says this. Should we tell them about where that, in Texas, where Mother told you to use the Catechism?
Oh, this was so funny. Last year we went to Dallas, Texas, to give a weekend of talks in this one church. Now, has anybody heard there had been a big scandal in Dallas, Texas, with the priest who had abused these young boys, and
they got millions of dollars.
They gave them a $20 million settlement against the church. Well, that was the church we were going to talk in, and these people had been broken completely by what had happened over a period of about 7 or 8 years.
And you can understand it.
So we were really getting steeled for it. Now, we had never, ever been invited to Dallas, Texas. Nobody in Dallas, Texas ever wanted us.
It's not very Catholic.
Very liberal.
Very liberal.
So this new pastor of this church, who was really trying to pull the church up from its bootstraps, invited us to give a weekend of talks so that we could kind of work with the people of that parish. So we got off the plane, and my pager went beep, beep, and I called the office, and I guess it was Liz Elena, because she didn't go with us that time. And she said, I just got a call from your host is here, and there's a priest from that parish, but not the pastor, but just a priest from the parish
in residence,
who is blocking you. He says you're not in good standing with your diocese, and so you can't talk here. So here we're at the airport, and thank God for cellular phones, so we called the Diocese of Sacramento, because we're in good terms with our bishop. The only bishop who's ever liked us, by the way.
I don't know if that says something good or bad about us, but he's the only one who ever liked us. Well, no, that's not true.
So we called the office and we asked for, we needed a letter of recommendation, and they faxed a letter of recommendation to the Bishop of Dallas and to our hostess that she could use for this priest. So then we were still very nervous, because then he said he was going to boycott it.
He was going to come in and disrupt. Now, that's very difficult, because he is a priest. Remember what we spoke about this morning? He is a priest. He is in the person of Christ. Can we show a divided
we can't really go against a priest.
Priesthood? Huh?
Even though this parish had all their problems because of priests, but we were not going to compound the issue.
And you don't ever come against a priest. That's my upbringing.
So we did the best thing we could think of. We called Mother Angelica. Mother,
how do we handle this?
She's so precious. She picks up, hello, sweetheart, what's the matter?
She knows something's wrong. We're calling, And so that's what she tell you.
So Penny tells her the whole story, and she said, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to get the Catholic Catechism, go to a bookstore, get the Catholic Catechism.
We only have 4 of them.
But not
we
with us.
We didn't have one in Dallas.
We don't bring it with us.
Another one, see?
And get Ignatius Press Bible. You ought to get some of those Ignatius Press Bibles.
Do you have them? They're
get
wonderful.
One of those.
Wonderful.
And I want you to get all the areas you're going to be talking about tonight and put post-its in it, in the Catholic Catechism, in Scripture, so that you can have quick reference to the things that you're going to be talking about.
Do not defend your talk with your books.
Not with your books, but with those books.
The Catechism.
And I want you to bring those books. One has one in one hand, one has one in the other hand, and that's how I want you to go into that hall. The priest never, ever came near them.
Okay, what they said was that the priest paced up and down outside of the hall. Never in the history of our ministry have people cheered at every single sentence. But we would say something, they were so starving that we would say something and they would cheer. And you'd say, who do we believe in? Jesus Christ and his church. I think he would have been afraid. They probably would have stoned him. He didn't know that we wouldn't let him. But it wasn't us. It wasn't what we were saying. We were only saying the truth as we knew.
It's what we stand on.
Yes.
This is what we stand on. What we want to share with you in this, and that's why we've got a book on Mary and a book on the angels. We want to share with you the weapons of our church, the gifts the Lord gives us. He gives us the gifts of Mary. He gives us the gifts of the angel. He gives us the gifts of the rosary. the guardian angels. So many gifts our Lord Jesus gives us. In our book on the angels, we did one chapter where we talked about all the different saints that had angelic intercession. And one of them in particular was our popes. We read about, it started with John the 23rd. And this is something where everybody can use this.
It works.
It works. Whenever he would have
strong adversaries,
really tough meeting that he was going to have to go to with an adversary who was obviously not our friend or a friend of the church, he would send his guardian angel to the guardian angel of the adversary that he was going to meet. And he would ask his guardian angel to have that guardian angel soften the heart of the adversary.
And it worked.
He'd go to the meeting, piece of cake. We'd go through, these would be like maybe Brezhnev or something. Really bad Russian guys or whoever. The meeting would go off beautifully. Everything would be as they had wanted. We have to tell you about an angelic intercession that we had.
I bet you're thinking about
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Okay. We told you about the Miracle of the Eucharist video. That's our most popular. We have 135 videos. That is the most popular video we have ever made.
All over the world.
And it's the one on the miracles of the Eucharist. But when we went to do that in Italy.
So next time you look at it, think of these things that we're sharing with you.
A Dutch evangelization company, but the production company were Dutch Reform Protestants.
As a matter of fact, the producer was a Dutch Reformed minister. And it was a Catholic ministry, which I almost didn't let them do it because, Holland doesn't have the best reputation as far as the Catholic Church is concerned right now.
Mother Angelica says, I went to Holland and tried to find a Catholic church.
But the Lumen 2000 was a very strong Catholic. He came back to the church through the Charismatic Renewal and gave $300 and some odd million to this foundation. So it was very legitimate, except that they didn't know very much of these guys.
And the church. The man who had given all this money and was running the foundation sent his son-in-law, who knew nothing. He was a travel agent. Sent his son-in-law to be the production manager. Anyway. So we had hell.
We did. First of all, we had never done a documentary of this level, and we were really unprofessional. We didn't know what we were doing, and we don't know that now. We know. Brother Joseph will take about 12 hours at least to make a half-hour show. Our shows usually have anywhere from 300 to 350 cuts. So we didn't know that. So they're taking everything.
To our way of thinking, the most ridiculous things they were shooting, and yet the most important things, which were us inside the church talking about the miracle of the Eucharist, they were giving that, we'll do that.
We'll do that at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Which they did. The one, when you look at it, for those of you who have looked at it, the one in Lanciano, which is the most important miracle of the Eucharist, we did at 1 o'clock in the morning. After a big shouting match with the producer and the director.
See, to preempt that, none of the custodians knew these people. They didn't know who Lumen 2000 was, although it's very well known in the church. But, they don't know.
They only knew us, because we've been going there for like 10 years by this time.
And they said, we hold you responsible for what happens with this footage. We've always trusted you. And they told us about things that had happened where people making pornographic films had gotten a hold of footage and had used it in pornographic films. So remember, this was on our heart. Well, when we get to Siena, they're filming these kids making out in the
Piazza del Campo, which is a big square.
We're having a cow. And we went up to them and we said, you're not using that. And they said, well, we have to use pictures of today to make it.
You got to see scenery from today, which.
And I said, you don't tell this story with that. Well, the only thing that saved our sanity was that they had agreed that and that's what the custodians did on that condition, that we had final say on editing.
We had final editing approval, so if we didn't approve it, it had to come out.
But, what am I going to do to a company in Holland if they don't do it?
Okay, they're in Holland, we're in the United States. We went through a week of hell videotaping this. What are you doing, darling? Videotaping this, And finally, and then after we got back, we were having back and forth arguments about editing, different editing parts, things that we didn't want in there, like this stuff in Siena.